Life Audio.
Today on Talk About That, John defends green peppers, eats gum wrappers, and needs a hobby. Meanwhile, I ponder why people romanticize medieval times and reveal the surprising reason the sandwich was really invented. Plus, a conversation about wisdom and foolishness and how the internet has robbed us of contemplation before rendering an opinion. Today's episode is not sponsored by chewing gum. We'll see you again in 7 years. But first, a word from our actual sponsor.
Two men, two microphones, one podcast. Let's talk about that.
Two turntables.
I almost said two men, one microphone, but that'd be really weird.
Yeah.
We don't want to be one of those bands. You know, we never did that, like when you were soloing or something. You come
Lean
over and
in,
start singing in my microphone.
go back to back.
No.
Like, who is it? Not Steve Perry. Who's not Luke Perry? Joe Perry. Who's the guy from Aerosmith? Who would do it with Steven Tyler? They would do their little harmonies. Richie Sambora and John Bon Jovi would do it sometimes, back to back, singing into one mic.
Yeah, it's bold.
It's pretty intimate.
Yeah, you and I, we just never.
You know, have a tic tac. That's what I would say.
Yeah, because when you're singing, it's not great. Like when I get through speaking or leading worship, I'm trying to make sure I have gum or something. Yeah, but you know, I don't know. You know, we assume, Johnny, those guys are making millions, so no one cares. But
right?
They're still people. They cared about bad
Still
breath.
people. Yeah, they would say like, "Hey, while you're out there,
why
don't you work in some Trident? Why don't you have
Two men and a microphone.
That
sounds like a.
Remember that gum that was like it had liquid in the middle of it, and you would like bite into it and it would squirt like liquid into your
Gushers,
mouth?
I think is what it's called.
No, that's the kids' gum. That's fruity. This was like minty. It was called Freshen Up. Remember Freshen Up gum?
They had like
I'm 5
breath
years old.
spray in the
I'm
middle?
5 years old. No, it was not breath spray, but it was like a minty gel.
Huh.
And it would be so good. You're like, this is so and it'd be like 5 seconds later, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's like Fruit Stripe. Anyway.
Do you remember the gum?
People out there remember Freshen Up gum if they're my age.
This may not happen in Knoxville. This will be a way to tell.
It's a regional.
Both generationally and regionally.
Yeah.
But there was a moment in time where it may have just been an urban legend, but all the kids did it.
Okay.
That there was a paper wrapper that was edible that went around the gum. Did that ever happen to you in school? The kids would eat the paper wrapper?
Are you sure that you weren't just...
You would chew the paper wrapper with the...
Eating paper wrappers?
I think I did it a couple times because like, this gum, because it's some thin paper they had, so it's supposed to they made this just so you just put the whole thing in your mouth.
Yeah, that's...
So it must have been a
like
Nashville thing.
Peer pressure.
And lots of kids did it.
Just eating the wrapper.
Well, they chewed the wrapper. It was still gum. Did you eat your gum in Knoxville?
But doesn't it get all like...
It was bad, but you just like, it really works. And you just keep chewing this nasty...
Remember those wax bottles with the liquid in them? The little...
Yeah. It was was it battery acid or something inside, wasn't it?
What is it? Tim Hawkins had that bit of transmission fluid, whatever it was in there. But then you'd eat the wax. You might swallow that wax. Now you're pooping candles. That's not good. You don't want that.
You don't
need that for the next...
No.
Anyway... I don't know how we open up with nostalgic candies
and
gums, but we hope you're doing well, dear listener.
Hey, I do have to tell you something.
Yes, sir.
I went to Jonnie W's show, and it was amazing.
Jonnie W and friends.
Yeah. The guys were good.
At the lab at Zany's. That was a fun show. It was a pretty stacked show.
Yeah.
A bunch of my pals came out.
Yeah.
Mike James, Alex Voluto, who both have dry bar specials. Then I had John Christ.
Yeah.
My buddy Michelle Krajewski from Chicago came and did a set.
Yeah.
One Jonnie W.
Maybe you heard of him.
Closed the show.
Yeah.
I hosted too, which was a little bit of a risk because you go out there, you're like, all right, if the show starts going off the rails, you can't. Then you'd be like, I got to come back out here and headline this mess.
Well, I thought they were a little stuffy at first, the crowd.
Yeah.
And so I even texted you, sorry about that. I thought this would either
be
funny.
You were texting me mid-show. Yeah.
This would either be funny or make him more stressed. And it was supposed to be funny.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
But
I need you to stop doing that.
But it wasn't about you.
Yeah, I know what you're like. Yeah, no, they were good. They were fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they...
but then they really loosened up.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Which is the whole idea, right?
That's what you want. They got drunker. No, John, they weren't.
We don't know, really.
John.
No one had a breathalyzer.
No, they didn't. John just had some Freshen Up gum. That's all he had. So
I came with our friends, the Grossmans.
That's right. I still need to text them and thank them for coming.
You
I know
just tell them right now they listen every week.
Hey, Jay and Sherry, thanks so much for coming to the show. It means a lot to me. and I didn't have your number. I did because we talk on Facebook, but I don't have their. I was like, I need to call them and tell them thanks, but I didn't get to say hello to them that night. They were gone.
Well, you were not. You were in the green room or something.
Yeah, it was a late night. Everybody had to get home.
We all had to work real jobs the next day.
It's true. So, I don't think about that sometimes. I've been doing this job so long that it's hard for me to think about that. Like I do forget. Like if I have a show and the doors open at 6, and I'm like, I got to do blah blah. I got sound check at 4:30. Get out here. Blah blah blah. Do my show. The show starts at 7. But it's hard to remember. Like people are getting off work and then driving to my show.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that pressure.
Like at night in the rain.
I want it to be the only thing they have going on.
Yeah.
But no, they're actually like, they've had a bad day at work and they're counting on me to bring them out of it. And I don't need this. Get off my back. They're just jokes.
Well, we did have a good night. You did. You made our day better. So
that's good. I appreciate it.
It was a lot of jokes I'd never heard before.
Thanks for coming, John. It meant a lot to me.
Oh, it was fun.
And you're very supportive. And it was a good night. It was fun.
Lots of new stuff. Like I think I could see the next special.
That reminds me. Go to JonnieW.com. Tickets went on sale today for my next taping. It's going to be like a little mini special that we're taping. It's a kind of a show with a ton of comics on it who are all heavy hitters in Atlanta, Marietta area, which is north of Atlanta. But it's called the Honest Fox Comedy Festival, and it is a little 100-seat room there, and it's going to be, I'm on the show with like Dustin Nickerson, Mike Goodwin, Alex Voluto. It is a ton of people who have like multiple specials under the belt and TV appearances. And I think we're all doing like 15 or 20-minute sets, but it's to get footage. So
nice.
This will end up being like my next whatever little thing that'll be released online.
Yeah, now that everything's so social media driven, do people still release full specials?
They do, but it's just, this is one of those things where they, rather than me pay for a whole special, it's a bunch of people all going in together and filming their newest 20, basically. So if you want to see my newest stuff and you want to come to a taping with a bunch of these great guys, go to my website has the ticket link, actually, JonnieW.com, and you can look for tickets. But they will sell out. It's only a 100-seat room.
Yeah.
And it's Sunday, January 26th is when my set is. But it's a weekend festival, January 24th through 26th is the entire festival. And it's, I mean, like I said, it's a ton of people that are going to be on this. So go see that.
I think we play a little fast and loose with the word festival these days.
We do. It's not like there's going to be a band of merry men and floats and parades.
Everything's a festival.
It's basically just me doing comedy, and you pay to come sit in a seat.
Yeah.
You don't. There's no expectations of you.
Maybe you should make it more of a traditional
more
festival.
merriment. There needs to be confetti. I have to have a handful of confetti in my pocket.
Huge. Yeah. Like, I don't know why we both think of like some sort of medieval festival, but that is what I think of. So.
Yeah. Well. Not evil, medieval.
Medieval. It's not all the way evil.
No, just
it's
mid.
Just midway. So,
why do you think people are so excited about medieval times, like women especially? It's romanticized. Even with Game of Thrones, like you see it kind of like that's its own little universe, and you see people like really something about lords and ladies and nobility.
Yeah.
But I just don't.
I don't know.
I've never felt that. I've never thought, oh, I wish I lived in that time, because I always imagined that I would not be the nobility.
Yeah, you'd be a vassal.
I'd be holding the bucket that the noble person pees in.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I'd be like,
yeah, that was a really important job.
Where's my bucket, boy? And I'd come running along. Sorry, right this way, sire.
It's interesting because
please don't flog me. Yeah.
It's interesting because like growing up in our traditions, like medieval times were they literally called the Dark Ages is what we called them.
Right.
And there's actually really interesting thing on that in the book.
Oh boy!
Yeah, I'm looking.
John's looking to his bookshelf.
Remaking the World.
Yes.
By Andrew Wilson. He talks about that, like sort of how the Enlightenment. Was it's almost like been rebranded by us over the years.
Right.
As if there was no light. Before then, like just one day, all of a sudden, all the light bulbs went off in everyone's head and stuff, and not realizing like so much of critical history, literature, so many people. In fact, we're doing a series called "When the Saints" right now, and there's so many like historical figures of faith, especially in the medieval times, that I never learned about. They weren't in our traditions. We kind of act like none of them knew anything about anything.
Yeah,
I think it's more romanticized now. I think it's kind of had a resurgence.
I just don't know. I think my wife and I see these other women, they talk about it like, oh, it'd been so great. And you just go, what in the world?
I don't know if it'd have been great to be...
You get like a cavity and they put leeches on you, or you just, you die of such preventable things, or you go, hey.
I don't know if you wanted to be, women had way fewer rights.
It was all leeches. Yeah, if you say like, I'd like to vote and own property, they go, she's a witch.
Yeah.
And she was.
Well.
Frankly. That's fair.
If you throw in water and she doesn't float, then you know she's not a witch.
Wait,
that was really one of the...
Throw in water, doesn't float, not a witch.
Which means also she died.
Sinks.
Right.
Yeah.
But at least you knew.
That's still the test we do today.
You could never be too careful. By the way, there was a local pastor who accused, I think, a church member of being a warlock.
Oh, boy.
Is
this where the local pastor ends up being you? Is this one of those stories?
And I was
that. That'd be a weird start to the show.
It was interesting because this guy gets a lot of, I guess, social media, YouTube traffic.
Coverage.
Yeah, coverage. And there's a whole thing going on possibly there that I want to talk about that.
Oh, boy.
There's other things in the real news about it. This, to me, look a little bit like a diversion, but it was interesting, though, because as a pastor, it was like he's preaching, and I'm just thinking about what this would be like. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, he's talking about the demonic forces against them or whatever. And then it was like, in fact, one of you,
oh boy,
that warlock is here tonight.
And he called the person out by name.
There's that guy with his hat on backwards. I think is what he said, something like that. Oh,
because everybody knows that's
what warlocks do. And then he goes into like you have no place. He goes into the whole rebuking of the warlock, and then has security remove the guy. And I thought, could you imagine I just stopped right in the middle of the message, like, listen, guys, I know we're talking about the book of James today, but I do have another announcement.
Yeah.
Some of y'all, and I just start throwing people out.
I would feel the immediate urge to flip my hat around. I'd be like, not it.
That guy also, by the way, started promising people refunds.
For their tithe money. Yeah. If you don't like what we've been doing, we'll give you a refund of your tithe money. And then he pulled that offer pretty quickly.
Well, I think he started getting some like legal documents in the mail about it.
Would you ever make such a? No.
I would. No. Well, technically, Johnny, it's not my money to give back.
No givesies packsies.
If you're a nonprofit, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Well, John, how would somebody support the show if they wanted to do that? And we don't offer refunds to our patrons.
They would go to talkaboutthatpodcast.com.
Oh, that's great. And they can find the archived episodes. They can support the show, get ad-free content. For those of you who don't have the ad-free content, though, it's time to hear from a few of our fine sponsors and keep these lights on.
And we're back. I actually heard, speaking of, we have a lot of new listeners lately. Like I heard from our network, even they were like, hey, you guys have had...
you're hearing from the network?
Hearing from the network.
Nobody from the network ever contacts me.
Well, I reached out.
Oh.
And the reason I reached out was...
Are these like nameless, faceless network
No, it's our
people?
buddy Tommy.
Tommy, okay, yeah.
Tommy's the best.
He is good.
And I was like, hey, Tommy.
I'd prefer it if it was like a nameless, faceless.
Like we get these really, really tiny checks that all go right back into, what we do.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I don't know how it happened, but my check somehow is gone. Like, I don't know.
Oh, and you had to ask him to cut another tiny check?
Yeah, and he was like, there's no problem,
That's fun.
So,
could you put a stop payment on that 42 cents?
Yeah, would you mind? Well, it wasn't that tiny.
No.
It had, I've had checks that usually...
Your residuals, royalty
usually
checks?
On some royalty check, there's like a rule. They won't pay out till it accrues past $10 or something, kind of thing. Like, so, yeah.
John's doing pretty good
over here, guys.
Hey, I wanted to celebrate something for one of our founding members of the podcast.
Oh.
Dane Allen is one of the reasons that we started this podcast about 6 years ago, maybe a little over 6 years ago. And he's a dear friend. He was in my youth group, my college group. He was in John's youth group. And he's gone on to just do some amazing stuff. He's one of the most talented people I've ever been around. And Dane plays and sings in Disciple, but he also plays and sings in a side project of theirs called Honor and Glory, which is a worship band. And they're kind of like a hard rock worship. And they were Grammy nominated for Song of the Year a couple of days ago.
Dane is now a Grammy nominated artist.
And I don't even know what to do with that information because obviously he deserves it, but I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? You ever make it about you?
I didn't on this one, but I like where you're going.
Okay.
I thought the same thing. What is Johnny
Yeah, when you
doing
saw
with his
Dane
life?
screaming up, you were like, Johnny's a loser.
That's the first thing I thought. No, we saw him at a staff meeting yesterday. So Andrew just got on the floor at his feet.
Did he really?
Yeah, it was so funny.
We're not worthy.
It was great.
That's great. Now, I'm so...
Yeah, we're very proud.
For real, when I play... Because I've mentioned it on the podcast, maybe when we did the music festival in Pennsylvania, I talked about seeing Stryper and all that. But we stayed an extra day to watch Disciples set, and we watched Honor and Glory. They played the day before in like the parking lot stage, the whatever you call it, the rock show stage. And then there's the main stage where Disciple played the next day. So we stayed and watched both. And you get to see Dane running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Well, he's in the band of Honor and Glory. And in Disciple, he is, I think he's actually playing bass for them now as well on road gigs. But for that gig, he was side stage singing background vocals live. So he has the live feed and click in his ear. And I go, how are you doing that? He's just like, I don't know. I've just done it for so long. And he's hitting these crazy, Dane has like a 3 or 4 octave range. It's insane the notes Dane can hit.
Yeah.
And I will just say, like, I grew up, well, not grew up, but when we came up as a band in Knoxville, Disciple was a big deal. Mm-hmm. They were getting signed and all that stuff was happening. So I've seen them play live 10 or 12 times.
Yeah.
Dane really does add something to their show.
Yeah.
That harmony, like, Kevin must really appreciate Dane. And so the fact that he's getting recognized and is a part of this other project in Honor and Glory. So kudos to Dane and well-deserved. And I'm so thrilled to know you. And you're one of the most gifted people I've ever been around.
Yeah.
He's a jerk, though. I will say that.
Yeah.
This guy,
he's insufferable.
Black heart.
Yeah.
Just.
His ministry's great, but in the inside, corroded.
But talent.
So talented.
And that matters.
It does.
That's what you want.
It is. How we look at a lot of ministry things today.
If you have to pick, no, Dane's great.
Take the talent. No, we love Dane. Fun fact.
Yeah.
The Talk About That music is a Dane Allen original.
That's right.
Yeah. So if you like the intro and the outro to our show, Dane wrote that.
He wrote it.
And recorded it.
If you don't like it, he still wrote it.
Yeah.
And we're not going to apologize.
Even when I'm editing, I almost always listen a little while at the end because
it's very catchy.
We always end with right in the middle of his solo, And
it's a little earworm.
It's great.
It gets in there.
Yeah.
Find yourself moving your head.
When this podcast wins awards, we'll bring Dane along for that as well. And it won't be anything like a Grammy. It'll be better.
I'd like to think that if he does win and gives a speech, that he will mention the podcast.
Yes. I would think that would be the first thing on his list.
I couldn't have done it without
John and Johnny from Talk About That.
And people will be like, get off the waving him.
Right.
There's like a card going up
that
only he can see.
Forgets his wife or whatever, but we get to mention.
Yeah.
Add a music.
I think that's reasonable to ask for. And if we don't get it, then I don't want to be friends anymore.
I think it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
I run in the logic circles,
Yeah.
And that was pretty tight. It's a pretty tight circle.
Yep, so. It is.
Yep.
You run in a big logic gang? You run with logical people? Is it a lot of street toughs out there with the logic?
It's like the Latin Kings, but instead of that, it's like Latin words. It's very...
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's very different than that, so...
John. Speaking of words, John, isn't it about that time?
I think it's about that time.
For John's quote of the week.
A little segment I call They Talked About That.
Nice.
Plato.
Oh, Plato again.
When did I do Plato?
We did Plato. Maybe it was Socrates, but I thought we did Plato because we talked about...
they both said a lot, Johnny.
They did, and they get probably confused for each other too. And did they live in the same time frame? Do we know?
And Plato was after Socrates.
I just know the difference between Plato and Socrates is Plato is non-toxic.
Right. You can... Hello.
Come on now.
He says, wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools because they have to say something.
Yeah. Didn't we do that one?
No.
I thought we've done this quote.
No.
I think we did this quote and we talked about Plato.
I don't think so. We've not done this one before.
We did.
This wasn't in my list.
I can't help you.
Are you saying that I just said this so I'd have something to say? I see what you're doing here. Well, I think it does align with Proverbs 18.
Okay, sure. Let's go there.
That is, a fool takes, this is my memory. I'm not looking it up.
Okay.
A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion.
Yeah.
Right. So there is something like, we have talked about this a lot in terms of this concept, but I think words have never been more important,
Mm-hmm.
And they also have never been cheaper.
Yeah.
Because there's so much more volume of them that now there was a day and time where what you say made or break you or broke you. It's gotta be your,
yeah.
It can make or break you. I mean, off of one errant word, and now we just sort of fill the universe with words, and it's sort of like it's like a sum kind of game now. It's a net of all the words, and we go, well,
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's pastors, leaders, I think
it's almost like we're filibustering each other.
Yeah.
We're just like keeping the thing going, and you wear the other person out.
Yeah.
It's like when you get in a comment thread, as somebody who's like, well, I don't know if you'd call me a public figure. That's a little bit full of itself. But basically, people that don't know me feel like they know me, and they talk in my comment threads. And if I decide to like challenge one of them, I just need to know that they have more time than I do to keep responding.
Right.
So that's really a useless exercise because they can just filibuster me. It doesn't matter who's right at that point. It's just like who has the last word. And I think and the idea that we feel like we are being programmed to render an opinion on things that we are not experts on. Mm-hmm. I think that's really what changed the game is everyone feels like their take matters. And it used to be you'd go, let me listen. There's experts here in the room. Let me see what they think. Let me feel this. There was always one loudmouth at the table.
Right.
But now it feels like we're all being pressured to be that loudmouth, even if we don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree. And think about it, the nature of it, and I'm not meaning to be a conspiracy theorist on this, but the nature of it also is more money is made the more words we use.
Oh, that's
because
true.
We're remaining on the platform, right? So it's not designed to come to a conclusion.
Right.
It's designed to be a perpetual discourse, which means, and I used to say this, Laura and I would joke, like, we're both, big talkers, right?
Big talkers.
I'm a big talker, actually. She's not.
Oh, boy. You're afraid to say something bad about Laura. She can be a big talker and still be a good person. It's okay, John.
But the truth is, compared to me, she's not a big talker. But we're both in arguments. Like, if our arguments end, it's because one or both of us decided for it to end.
Yeah.
It's not because we ran out of stuff to say.
Right.
Right. And at some point, if you want your marriage to work, you have to shut up. You have to go, oh, I could keep going to what end? And even one of us, she'll say to me sometimes like, is this really what you want to keep doing? And I'll be like, no, it's not.
I read this thing on Instagram the other day, and it's from one of these like, it's like a self-help kind of a thing, but it was almost like dark arts self-help where you're like, this is how you manipulate clients. Kind of you ever seen these posts this? But it was a fascinating one, and it was like number 1 of 5 things. But number 1 was, if you listen while a person talks about themselves, they will remember that they liked you, and they won't even know why. And I thought, wow, that really is true. Like, there's something about, you go, what a good dude. And really all he ever did was just like listen while you bloviated about yourself. And you go, I don't know, I like that John Driver.
Yeah, we, teenagers, because of social media, I think struggle with small talk.
Yeah.
I'm not a big small talk guy. I can small talk with people I know really well. I'm fine with it then. But if we haven't connected, small talk really can bug me over time. Like if it's the first time we met or something, fine. If we've been friends a long time and never had a decent conversation of any depth, then small talk will annoy me. But I was telling Sadie, like, honey, when you don't know what to say, people always want to hear about themselves.
Right.
Ask about them.
Right.
And I don't think that's even like manipulation. I think like be interested in them. And that's sort of how it works.
Somebody asked me my hobbies the other day. I was at a thing and somebody said, what are your hobbies? I think they knew I was a comedian and they were just like an acquaintance. And I didn't know what to say. I was like, I like sports. Yeah. I was like, I have a job that feels kind of all encompassing. It's like, it's become like attached to my identity, I guess. It's one of those jobs where you can't be like, I'm not a comedian, and comedian's what I do. It's like, well, come on.
Right.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
It's okay. Just do what you do. But it's kind of like, I'm either getting ready to go out of town or I'm getting back from out of town and I'm trying to figure out how to do reentry in my life and connect with friends. But like, I don't think maybe I need a hobby.
It's funny.
Like, I don't even play golf or anything.
It's funny you say that. Like, we were hosting a party for a volleyball team, and so we were getting things ready at the house. And Laura was like, on Saturday, she was like, I'll take care of everything. And I was like, when have we ever done that? No.
Yeah.
Because there was a Tennessee basketball game and a Tennessee football game that day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was like the sweet spot. I was so excited about that day. She was like, hey, this is kind of like one of the only things that you do for yourself. Yeah. That's a hobby.
Right.
So I'm not taking
it. Get enraged at Tennessee sports.
I sit here and watch, and I thought, I don't know if that, it's funny because the question or the statement not bothered me, but it did cause me to do the same kind of self-evaluation. Like, like I used to play golf.
Well, like, do you think for most of your life, if I know you, and I think I do better than most people, like a hobby seems like something that somebody who's not getting stuff done would have. Like, you would feel guilty for taking time to do something that wasn't productive.
Used to, yes. Now I think it's more likely. I don't
you just never learned to have one, so now you're like, well, right. How do you get one?
I don't feel that way.
How do you get one of those hobbies?
Hey, what do you guys?
What are you going to take up woodworking now? You're going to lose a finger. You know what I'm saying? It's too late for you to be like, I'll be the woodworking guy.
I like reading.
Yeah.
And I like watching sports, and I like reading sports articles.
God, we're so boring.
Every time I talk to you, I'm telling you, like...
We got to get a hobby, John. Let's find one together. We'll do you know what I'm saying? Well, let's do a big hobby search.
All the rage. We used to play basketball a lot. Let's go back to basketball.
What if there was a building you could go to that sold hobbies, like a hobby lobby? You go in there.
I would say it's a large lobby.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? What if
it was just a lobby to a bigger store?
Right.
You go, have you seen the whole thing?
Go through the Hobby Lobby.
No, I've been into Hobby Lobby. No, that's just the foyer. You got to go deep. Yeah, have you been in the toy foyer? Oh my gosh, there's so many.
The toyer foyer?
Yeah.
I think sometimes we sacrifice logic for rhyming.
We do.
And I don't.
Plus it's toy foyer.
Oh, my bad.
Foyer. When somebody says foyer, it's one of those shortcuts where you go, we're not going to be friends.
Thank you for going ahead and saying that. This made this a lot faster.
Thank you for saying the question was mute, because that helped me to know that we probably won't hang out.
But see, that sounds like elitist if you just mispronounce a word, but if you intentionally pronounce a word.
If you mispronounce it and I can rib you about it, we're going to be pals.
Right.
If you mispronounce it and have like a weird thing about it and can't be called out on it, oof.
Because the word everybody is moot. M-O-O-T.
Oh, wait a minute.
Not mute.
Hold on.
Yeah. So
the question is mute. The point is mute.
And people do it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
John,
Plato.
Speaking of words, that Plato guy, he knows what's going on.
He does.
It is interesting that he was Plato's non-toxic Socrates, Hemlock.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
I love that line from, what was the movie?
Real Genius.
Yeah.
I think it was the immortal words of Socrates who said, I drink what? John, let's go back. Let's do Johnny's old jokes. We call it Joke About That. I got a couple here. These are, listen, I'm scraping the internet for these. These are street jokes that some of them I've heard versions of them, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. But listen, these aren't my jokes. That's the whole point of this show. We're going through the historical archives of humor.
There's a lot of caveat here.
I just don't want to be held
to think that because this is not a great joke or whatever.
I just want to be held responsible. 2 cowboys, John, are wrangling up their cattle at the end of a long day. One cowboy counts them and says, well, we've got 50 head of cattle in there. The other says, 50? We're only supposed to have 47. The first cowboy says, I know. I rounded them up. See? Okay, all right. You actually got to...
I do love a good wordplay.
Okay. A wife got so mad at her husband, she packed his bags and told him to get... This feels like a very 50s joke. Wife got so mad at her husband, she packed his bags and told him to get out. As he walked to the door, she yelled, I hope you die a long, slow, painful death. He turned around and said, so you want me to stay? Come on!
Hey, come on, guys.
These people.
That's...
Pow, right in the kisser. We had a show.
Right in the
where Jackie Gleason threatened to hit his wife every week.
Yeah.
And they were beloved.
Yeah.
These people.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to that whole like.
I mean, he never did it. I will say that. There's that Seinfeld even indictment in comedy of we've taken language so seriously now. Yeah.
To be clear, I don't think we should ever threaten to hit our spouses. So it's like there's that balance.
Right.
But
to the moon, Alice.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we've ever been to the moon, which we don't really know. High premium on education happening right now. Okay, John, let's keep moving. This week in history, we call it Talk About Then. This story kind of blew my mind, and you're a U.S. history buff, and I don't know if you know this one. Did you know that this week, 1943, U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt was aboard the USS Iowa when they thought they were under attack by German U-boats because the USS William D. Porter accidentally dropped a depth charge near them. So it was this accidental thing that happened. It was an incident. It went further. This is how crazy it gets. This is one of the craziest stories I've never... This could be a movie. So this depth charge goes off on this boat that's near them. They think, we're under attack because it's 1943. The following day, with Roosevelt still on board, the Porter accidentally launched a torpedo at the Iowa. The Iowa was able to narrowly avoid the torpedo. When he heard about the incoming torpedo, wheelchair-bound Roosevelt asked that he be moved to the edge of the ship so that he could watch. Believing that the Porter might be involved in an assassination attempt, the captain and entire crew were arrested and investigated.
What?
So they had to clear them because of these two accidental things. One was a depth charge. The other was literally a torpedo was launched. Friendly.
Wow. How is that even...
I don't know.
That seems
like a lot of buttons have to be pushed for a torpedo to be aimed at the boat a president was on.
Yeah. Especially back then. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of levers and knobs and commands from upper deck.
Who's a watchies and
whatchamacallits. And
anyway, Roosevelt, but he said, take me to the edge. That's my favorite part. Take me to the edge of the boat. I want to watch this. As they try to do their evasive. Well, I don't know. He's in a wheelchair. Yeah. Not a lot of jumping going on.
Well,
I don't know.
He could flail himself over the edge.
I guess, but what a wild scene. I'm telling you, like, why did you not know that story? It's been buried by the mainstream, lamestream media since the 40s, and I hate to hear it.
Oh, man.
John, this week, 1927, the first U.S. underground automobile tunnel was constructed. Do you know what this tunnel was called? Do you know the first underground?
It's in New York.
Holland Tunnel. Connected New York and New Jersey. Yeah. It was at the time the longest continuous underwater vehicular tunnel in the world. Construction had begun in 1920. It was named after the chief engineer of the tunnel, Clifford Milburn Holland, who died during construction. This is the part that I was like, this is kind of a dark, but you kind of understand too, because people die during these construction projects all the time. When they're building the Brooklyn Bridge, how many ever workers died. But Holland died of a heart attack at the age of 41 after having been sent to a health clinic following a nervous breakdown caused by the long hours and stress from working in the compressed air of a tunnel. Wow. So literally it did a number on him just being in that situation. The stress of getting it done, the long hours, the blah, blah, blah. Maybe they're saying the compressed air had a factor. I don't know in there. I don't know.
I think we really should get a hobby.
Yeah. This is going to be us. If we don't, listen, if we don't get out of this tunnel that we're in and just get out there and live, why don't you live?
Yeah.
We need a game night or something, John.
We did that.
This show is our Holland Tunnel.
You don't play chess, do you?
No.
See, that would be amazing.
It's very, you got to think 5 moves ahead. Strategic. I guess I'm more immediate in my thinking. I don't know.
Well, then we should play because I'm
not smart.
You're very smart. You would love the strategy of chess.
Yeah.
I'm not good at chess.
The horse makes an L, right?
That's correct.
He make an L?
Yeah.
These bishops are going diagonal?
That's correct. So you already know the rules.
Yeah.
The pawns go 1 unless it's the first move, it's 2.
Yeah.
The queen can move any direction as many as she wants. King can move any direction.
Rooks go straight line.
Rooks go straight line.
But see, that's not going to help me win. I just know what I'm limited to.
And you have to, a pawn has to take someone diagonally to kill them.
Right.
You can't so 2 pawns head on, face to face. They're just a stalemate.
And won't that preach?
Come on, guys.
Some of y'all out there afraid to take somebody on face to face. You're trying to go at them diagonal.
Yeah.
Because you're going in for a kill shot.
You can't go
You need
anywhere.
to get in a conversation. You need a stalemate so you really get to know the person.
Why
you go, why are we fighting?
Yeah.
Why are we even fighting?
Right. Why can't the two sides of the chessboard just be at peace?
Let's just play checkers. Okay. It's easier. Okay, John, a couple more. This week, 1875, the first football game with uniforms. Yale wearing dark pants, blue shirts, and yellow hats. Hats, mind you, not helmets.
Right.
Beat Harvard, who wore crimson shirts, pants, and stockings.
No hats.
It made me think, like, when you're a kid, you kind of, unless you're, like, really aware of your region, you kind of pick your favorite pro football teams based on their uniforms. Who's your favorite uniform to this day? You still think about that stuff. You go, yeah, they got cool uniforms.
It's hard because I don't know if I'd pick Tennessee.
Right.
Though it's
the
my favorite.
oranges, they look like big pumpkins
now,
out
look,
there.
When they're wearing the home
now,
orange.
the new ones are great. The smoky grays.
Smoky grays.
Those, what were they called? Dark mode? The black and orange for Halloween game?
And I like the Stormtrooper too. I like the all white with the orange. And I like the orange. Here's the thing. I like it all.
Yeah.
Except the daggum orange pants.
Right.
Don't ever do it again. We lose. We wore orange pants
But that just shows you're a little bit superstitious.
I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious. Okay.
But you're right. We have a bad track record. But that's true of everything we did. When we did the checkerboard for the big photo op, we lost like 4 games in a row when we do the checkerboard. Like, let's do the checkerboard in the thing where you have the fans wear the white shirt and the orange shirts and they're left on their chairs.
Yeah.
And then you get there and they're like, oh, what a great photo op. We'd lose. We lost like 4 of those games until we started winning them. And now they want to do the checkerboard every game.
Well, the deal is also...
You got to break these
curses.
curses.
Have a coach who knows how to win football games.
It's a generational curse, John.
Get rid of the warlock.
That's right. If you're in section C and your hat is on backwards, we need to have you head to the exits. A lot of people would leave, probably. That is a lot of people. John, finally, this week, the inventor of the sandwich was born. John Montague was born November 13th, 1718, and died in 1792. He choked on a sandwich. No, he didn't. He was an English diplomat, the 4th Earl of Sandwich, for whom the Sandwich Islands are named. I didn't know there were Sandwich Islands.
They're right between these other two.
And they're next to the Thousand Islands. That's how you make a Reuben. The inventor of the sandwich, which he devised as a quick meal to allow him more time to do what, John? So he's thinking like, I gotta have something on the go. I thought maybe he's out he's an earl. Yeah, maybe he's out there doing diplomatic stuff. No.
The village.
He devised the sandwich as a quick meal to allow him more time to gamble.
What?
So he could have a sandwich in one hand and, give me 2.
How much is a guy gambling? There's a time to stop and eat out of a plate All
I'm saying is, when you see a guy gambling, if they start bringing him food, it almost always is a sandwich.
Yeah, that's true.
So this guy knew what was up. It's a handheld little, you don't need forks and knives. The original sandwich, John, was a piece of salt beef between 2 slices of toasted bread.
That sounds good.
Still it's kind of like a hamburger.
Yeah.
It's
always toasted. Yeah, so sandwiches are hot to start.
It's a Wendy's burger, basically.
I'm a hot sandwich guy.
Okay.
I can do a cold sandwich.
Yeah, I don't. If I go somewhere and a cold, like if I'm at Panera and they go, oh, Panera, it's great. And you go, no, it's $12 for a turkey sub that I could have made at the house. If I go somewhere and I'm paying a lot of money for a sandwich, it better be a hot sandwich and it better be something with ingredients I don't have at the house.
Well, they make hot sandwiches at Panera.
It better have some au jus.
Yeah.
Give me something to dip.
Yeah. Or some sort of, arugula.
Yeah. Something to spill all over me. I need to ruin this shirt.
Yeah. Now, I'm a hot sandwich. Do you like Philly cheesesteak sandwiches?
Of course.
Because those.
No peppers, though.
What's wrong with you?
Put peppers on a sandwich. It makes the whole thing taste like a pepper.
It does not. They cook them.
Peppers are very invasive as a species.
You are very invasive
I'll give you that.
That's the whole thing. You're you go to Philly all the time and stuff.
But I would do grilled onions, yes.
The onions are twice as invasive as peppers.
No, peppers have that strong pepperiness to it.
Can you find another adjective besides pepperous?
It's, no.
Johnny,
Jonathan,
I don't like to say this a lot.
I think words have become too important to you. And I think
you're very wrong.
Okay.
You're trying to find something.
A green pepper in a sandwich is just, it's so overpowering.
Are you eating it raw? Maybe you're doing it wrong.
I just don't like it.
I think you need to rethink your whole sandwich approach.
If you're out there and you're with me, then you're right. And send a message to hello@talkaboutthatpodcast.com and tell us, are you a pepper person? Are you non-pepper person?
Yeah. You can just put in the title, pepper, non-pepper.
Yes. That's all we need. Subject line, pepper.
Yeah.
Pro-pepper, anti-pepper.
Yeah. Which would be right for the first one and wrong. I mean, how about this? For all of, just so you know, and
yes.
I know your whole career, right? It's going to be based upon how many people show up.
Man, I don't like this at all. Good grief.
Why would they be?
You're a success or failure based on this metric, Johnny. No pressure.
But there's a reason that they put the peppers on the sandwiches, because more people eat them or they wouldn't offer them. The people have spoken already about this.
Let me say this, though. When I say, hey, could you leave off the peppers? Nobody goes, nobody gasps. They go, yeah, this guy doesn't want to eat a sandwich that tastes like a pepper.
But everybody else
I want to taste the beef and the cheese.
I think you're just not cooking your peppers long enough.
Okay.
Maybe you should go next time and go.
But if I have to cook the pepperiness out of it, should that tell you that it's not a very good thing?
No.
That's why people say, it's not a fishy fish. Oh, you mean it's delicious?
I like it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good way.
All right. Well, John, I think it's time to go.
I think we've
never done this before, but it just feels like
enough is enough.
A crescendo. We've reached a fever pitch.
You guys should check out.
Come to blows here in a minute.
You should check out Jonnie W's website, JONNIEW.com.
New tickets, new shows going on sale every day, including that one I just talked about, January 26th. Come to that one for sure. It's going to be a live taping, and that'll be a fun one.
Yeah. Any more Nashville shows coming up?
Maybe, John. I got a couple things in the hopper. Just stay tuned. Okay. Same bat time, same bat channel.
There you go.
As the old 60s Batman used to say.
Yeah. We're approaching episode 335.
Oh, is that a big hallmark? Are we going to landmark?
It's just a lot. So just to remind you guys, there's a whole catalog. You can go back.
Yeah.
Share with your friends, your family.
Binge them.
Leave reviews. It really, really helps us, actually, when you leave reviews. And, it means a lot to us when you do that.
It helps other people find the show.
Yeah. And if you don't want them to find the show.
If you want it to be your little secret, well, frankly, you're being selfish.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be hateful, but why are you hoarding the show?
And maybe it's just time someone finally told you the truth. Because that's what, if we're anything besides an educational podcast,
right?
We're a truth-telling podcast.
And listen, truth as we see it.
Yeah.
And that's all we can do.
Yeah.
It's our truth.
It's right here. So,
I don't know.
Guys, thanks for the time you gave us this week. Let's do it again next week here on
Talk About That.